discovered that this isolator coupler was going bad on my 2013 Camaro ZL1. We're going to be replacing it with this solid isolator coupler from Lingenfelter. That replaces the factory spring-loaded one that tends to go bad, and again, it could happen at any mileage, but depending on how hard you use it and how much load you put on those isolators, you'll more than likely have to replace them pretty soon. And again, this is something that is pretty common on the ZL1, the CTS-V, and the C6ZR1 with the LS9. In this video, we're going to show you how to do that swap, and again, it's just swapping out this one piece, but it's quite a bit of a process. These are the tools that we're going to be using for today. I'm going to list them in the description below, and as we progress with the tutorial video, I will be listing the ones that you'll be needing. Now, since you are going to be working in this area here, it's recommended that you put some microfiber towels here so you don't damage the paint. First thing you want to do is disconnect the battery. Once you disconnect the battery, remove the clips that fasten this plastic part here, and that's going to give us just a little bit of space. We're going to get the 13mm socket and remove the 3 bolts here and 3 bolts here to remove the strut bar here, and that's just going to give us more access to the supercharger lid, because this is going to have to come out. We're going to actually just remove the cold air intake here, the throttle body, and just pretty much prep the area over here for that to be removed as well. We're going to disconnect the sensor here. It's plugged in like that. There's only one sensor that is regard to the throttle body, and you're going to loosen up these 10mm bolts. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. We ended up having to remove the intake cone here. We also moved the intake tubes up, facing upwards, so we have access to the throttle body. All right, so here is the throttle body that has been removed. Before you unbolt the 16 10mm, you have to disconnect 3 sensors, 1, 2, 3, and these are just plug and play. You gotta be careful with them so you don't snap them, but they literally just plug in, push down. Okay, so behind the lid has 4 of these bolts in the back, 10mm, 1 here and 1 here. Those are the visible ones, but we're using a rubber mallet with a wooden top just to lift this up a little bit for us to slide in this socket wrench extension here with a 10mm on it. There it is. It's these that are in the back. You definitely want to have another person helping out lifting that piece up, because that's pretty much what's helping him see it and have the clearance for it. And that's what we're trying to get to. And you can see we already loosened one up. So the next one is going to be this one right here. We're also going to loosen the pulley system here. So just get this wrench here, slide it into here without any socket. We move it counterclockwise like that, and then you can literally just slide the belt out. Now we're going to take off the hoses lock. You just remove those little safety pins here, don't lose those, and it should slide right off like that. And removing the hoses will expose the last 10mm bolt that fastens the supercharger lid. But you're going to have some coolant that's going to come out, so we should definitely find something to cover that with. So here's the block lid. Not that heavy. A lot of fluid came out though. So there it is, guys. That is the LSA Supercharger here. So that noise, it's not that great. The real way to tell if you do have the shot isolator is for that rattling, that marble sounding when the car is running at idle. So what we did next is put some paper towels right above the shaft that leads into the engine. You want to cover those up, because if you drop that bolt in there, it is over for you. So we went and loosened up all of the 8mm bolts. There's 10 of them. We didn't actually take them out, we just left them in place, but that's gonna give us enough clearance to lift it up and make sure that the snout comes out without hitting anything. Eventually, we're gonna have to lift this up with a pry bar around here. My Camaro has a catch can system here, and that runs along the line here. I don't know if you can see it right there. So if you try to lift it from this side, you might actually like break the lines, and I don't want to do that. And I find in between the throttle body and the pulley over here, it's
the easiest place to do it. And that's just to lift the supercharger unit up. So we have 4 10mm bolts that are fastening the snout to the actual supercharger unit, the top one right there. There are actually 6 bolts, not 4, 6. So there's one right over here. That's underneath the bottom part of the snout. And then one up here as well. There's one on the bottom right there, right there. The light's pointing right at it. That's 3. And then the top one is 4, right above the fuel line. You also should take out this bolt that is fastening this sensor. If you don't take that out, you won't be able to access the bolt that is directly behind that. There you are. You have a straight shot at the bolt that you need right there. So yeah, we found it easier to just lift the actual supercharger unit to get access to the bolt that is like in there. We were trying to pry this section here, the snout part. You really should have another person doing it, because what you want to do is have somebody lift the snout up and you with a pry bar pry from this section over here. This part right here is actually kissing the block itself, so you'll have enough space to just pry it open, and you'll feel like you're breaking it, but you just gotta push through it. Just make sure that the bar here is tucked nicely in between here. Once you detach it from this side, you should be able to like move the snout around. Now, in order to actually move the snout outwards, you need to lift the block, or the supercharger unit. You have to lift it up, and then somebody can wiggle it out. So the last thing that you need, again, before the other step was to take off the lines that were here. You just plug that out, and plug that out. And again, there's a little plug right here on top of the throttle body right here. And that just literally, you press down on it and it'll come right off. I want you guys to look at this, how bad it was. That is the shaft for the pulley. Look at that, the grooves. The car has 25,000 miles. Look at that, that is just abysmal. Wow. And that rattling, that sounds like marbles, that's literally the spring eating into the shaft right there. Here is the spring-loaded isolator in there. It's almost coming out. It came out with the magnet. Look at that. Completely destroyed.
Estoy cansado, jefe.
And again, the car has 25,000 miles. So let's do a quick side-by-side comparison between the solid and the spring-loaded. So the spring-loaded, you could see when it goes bad, starts to vibrate very fast. Now the solid one, it's not gonna have that issue. And as you can see, it has no contact with the shaft. Okay, so I think now would be the absolute most annoying part of this job. And it's going to be with a razor or something that'll help you remove the old residue from the glue. All right, so there you can see we cleaned it up. That's gonna allow for the adhesive that we're gonna use to seal it back. Now, I've seen a couple of videos that suggested that you should actually put it in the supercharger side first, because it'll be easier for you to guide these pins that are over here. Okay. Because there's some resistance, that means you're going to have to use a mallet or something to really fasten it into the place so it occupies all of the pin space. That is the amount that we were able to get in with our hands. And you can see there's a little bit of grooves that kind of give some resistance for the pin. So that's where we're gonna use the mallet to kind of get it a little bit more in. Then we're going to be able to fasten this side when we start to torque it down. It's in. There we go. That's how it should be, ladies and gentlemen. Should go all the way. All right, so now we're gonna use the Permatex sealant. You should put it on the block first, not on the snout, because if you put it on the snout, as you see, there's a lot of hoses and you don't want to get Permatex on it. All right, so this is exactly how you want to have it. That's the path that you want to have. Make sure that the residue is not leaving any sort of gaps. As you notice, there is no gaps so any liquids can go through it. Let's get to the alignment part.
As you saw, we needed about 2 people in order for us to lift up the block and allow the snout to go in. You also had somebody putting in those 10mm bolts just to fasten it inside. You don't want to torque it down all the way because you want to make sure that there's no alignment issues. If you go from here and you rotate it, first of all, there's no play at all. So that's a really, really good sign. But it looks like everything is fastened down really well. Again, if there is a little bit of a gap, it's because you really haven't tightened it, but overall I'm starting to see that it's pretty good. All right, so now we're gonna start tightening the first part, which is the supercharger snout. These 6 bolts are gonna be tightened to 20 pound-feet or 27 Newton meters. Now it is time to start torquing down the supercharger inside bolts. This is going to be 44 pound-inches on the first pass and then 89 pound-inches on the second pass. And there's a specific order that you have to tighten it, which is right here in this diagram. I'm gonna put it over here. And essentially you wanna follow that pattern. So 1 is the first one you install, the second one is right across. So basically what first pass means is you basically go through the order, the sequence of those bolts. Once you hit the 44 inch pound, it makes a noise, it makes a click or whatever like that, you continue going through the sequence. And then once you finish all 10 of them, then you redo it again, but this time doing it at 89. So you repeat the whole process again. So it should be 2 times that you're doing this. We're going to start putting the supercharger lid back into place. It's a good idea to have these 4 in place because to get them back in is going to be a nightmare. So we now position the supercharger lid in place, and this is going to be the order that you're going to be tightening these. What you want to do is the same thing. It's going to be a first pass, second pass situation. Torque specs are 44 pound-inches on the first pass and 89 on the second pass. So it's the same ones that you use for the supercharger bolts inside of the supercharger. And the lid is officially done. We're not gonna record the rest of the part because it's pretty self-intuitive.
Put the bolt back on this sensor here, back here. Also reconnect all of these too. All right, so these Strut tower brace bolts are 21 pound-feet now. These are pound-feet.
There you go. Everything seems to be in order. The belt's running fine. No rattling noises. Very good.
No check engine lights. Okay, that's when the battery gets disconnected.
All right guys, so that is the full procedure on how to swap out the spring-loaded isolator for the solid isolator from Lingenfelter. It took us a little bit more time just because we had to do the research and we had to source from different areas. But I'm glad that we were able to do it so we can show you guys how to do this seamlessly. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit the like button. If you guys want to see more content, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down here. And last but not least, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. Give it a rev, give it a rev.